Charles bought some new furniture for his house. Since the passing of his wife Eva, Charles has been alone and does not have the strength to do it by himself. His grandson Richard is happy to help and arrives at the house. Richard is moving some boxes to the basement, but then he hears these strange noises. Richard becomes a little nervous when he hears the same noise again. He asks Charles what's downstairs, but he replies that there are only some old boxes downstairs. Richard opens the door of the basement, and when he sees it, he turns pale. Suddenly, Charles hears Richard screaming. It is not any kind of scream. He could hear the fear in his voice. Charles rushes downstairs, but when Richard hears him coming, he tells Charles not to come inside, but it's already too late. Charles comes downstairs into the basement, is in complete shock when he sees the creature in the corner of the room. It is very dark in the basement, but they both immediately notice that it could be a dangerous creature. Charles turns on the basement light and could not believe his eyes. He starts to burst into tears. It is his old cat which he lost a year ago, but something terrible happened. The cat looks mutated with some other kind of animal. Richard wants to attack the creature with a bat, but then Charles stops him. He tells Richard that we cannot attack the creature, it is his lost cat. Richard pulls Charles out of the basement to talk about what he means. Charles explains to his grandson Richard that he felt alone after Grandma's passing 5 years ago. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming stories. During these years, Charles found a new friend in this cat he adopted. However, one day last year he woke up and the cat was missing. He had searched for days but never found his cat back. At his age, he was unable to take care of the cat. Richard is confused. He asks Charles, "Are you sure this creature is the same as your old cat?" Charles is certain that this is his cat. He lived together with him for 4 years. He would never forget. Charles tells Richard he wants to approach this creature and try to calm him down. Richard disagrees, but Charles is determined to do it. Charles slowly opens the door and sees the creature is still in the corner. Charles tries to approach the creature slowly, but then it starts screaming and moves toward Charles. Charles and Richard run out of the room and immediately close the door. "We have to call the vet," says Richard. Charles calls the vet, which initially tells them the vet is very busy today. But then Charles explains what is happening. The assistant sounds confused, but after a quick debate with the vet, she tells them he will come done as quick as possible. The vet arrives and knocks on the door. Richard opens the door and brings the vet to the basement, where he sees Charles. He can see the fear in his eyes. "What is in there?" asks the vet hesitantly. He opens the door slowly and sees the creature in the corner of the room. The vet turns pale and says, "I have never seen something like this before." When the vet tries to enter the room, the creature again reacts aggressively. "It is way too risky to catch the creature by myself. We have to call animal protection." The vet calls animal protection and they arrive a few moments later. They brought a few extra men so they would be sure to catch the creature. The vet asks animal protection to take the creature to his lab. The vet wants to run some tests to see what is going on. Charles asks if he can come along, but the vet says it is best if he stays here, as it could take a while for the results to come in. In his lab, the vet runs tests on the creature. The vet is still confused about how this creature was there in Charles's basement, and could it be true that this used to be a normal cat? The vet needs a lot of answers to his questions. He makes this his priority. A few days passed, and Charles finally gets the phone call from the vet. The vet asks Charles to immediately come back to his lab. He has to answer some questions. Charles was confused about what it could be, but he jumps in his car to the vet. Charles arrives as he sees the vet outside waiting on him. The vet starts to ask all sorts of questions, which confuses Charles. Yet Genoff seems to fade it, and he wonders. They all seem to be about his lost cat. Then Charles realizes that the vet might have evidence that it is really his cat. The vet takes Charles inside his lab. "I have some good and bad news," he says to Charles. "It could be your cat, as the results of the test show cat DNA. But someone did some terrible things to it." Charles could not believe it is his cat. The vet continues, "This creature is the outcome of someone doing terrible experiments on animals." He then tells Charles that he will call the police to inform them about what happened. After a few moments, the police arrive at the lab of the vet. When they walk inside, one of the policemen says, "Not another one." The vet asks him what he means by that. He replies that it is not the first creature they find. The police explain to the vet and Charles that in the last few months they found more of these cats which are being mutated. The police ask for the results of the test. When they read the results, it confirms their suspicions. These cats are being mutated with other animals. Almost all of them are unnatural and therefore illegal. The police still did not figure out how it happened, but this creature could help them come closer to finding the truth. The police suspect that these poor cats have been mutated on purpose to create these unique creatures. Even though it is forbidden to do it, these creatures go for a lot of money on the black market. There is a criminal organization that the police have been following for the past month. The police suspect them of being responsible for the harm they do to these animals but did not find the evidence to link them to the crimes.